Anticipation is obviously one of the most important things in everyday life driving, and it's also one of the biggest problems students tend to have at the exam. And one mistake they do a lot is that they wait too long before changing lanes when there's an obstacle further in front because they usually don't look far enough. Always try to change lanes in advance when you see obstacles. I see the construction cones over there, I change right away. I see the truck over there, I change. Here, as soon as that car in front gets out of my line of sight and I'm able to see the truck in front, I change. Basically, we do it as soon as we see the obstacle and as soon as we can do it. I see that truck all the way in front over there, so I know that I'll need to change lanes. So as long as there's nothing in the left lane preventing me from doing it, I do it right away. The sooner you avoid an obstacle, the less the probability that you'll be stuck behind it waiting to change lanes. And students tend to stress in situations like those, especially at the exam, because they think their examiner will start getting impatient. And because of that, sometimes they make impulsive and dangerous maneuvers. When you see double parked vehicles, keep in mind that somebody could open a door at any time. So look for hints that somebody could be coming out of the car, like brake lights going off, a head in the car, and so on. If you see somebody closing the door, same thing, they could be about to go. When they're blocking the whole lane on a two-way street, you have the right to go into the opposite lane to pass them, obviously, but always be careful. In this case, there's also this curb ramp, an entrance/exit to the building's parking lot, so there could be someone exiting, and then also look under the truck when passing it. Here I see somebody standing behind the truck but facing the other way. Now I could think, well, since they're facing the other way, I'm good. If they walk, they'll walk forward. But they could turn around suddenly, or they can walk backwards too. And that's something that happens a lot in situations like these when people are moving or delivering stuff, carrying something, while one is walking forward and the other walking backwards. And before going into an opposite lane, you'll need to look far enough because obviously you'll have to yield to the vehicles on the other lane. And also keep a good distance from the obstacle in front. Because if you get too close to a big vehicle, you won't see anything in front anymore, so you'll never be able to see when you can do the maneuver. When big vehicles are stopped at an intersection, make sure to look if there's a stop sign there, and look well to the sign of the stopped vehicle after going, because if there's someone there, you don't see them and they don't see you either. If you're not sure if you have enough room in your lane, just change lanes. Now here, there are a few situations. The truck door is open, so not only could there be movement from people around the vehicle, but we're also next to a park for kids, so there could also be a kid popping out from behind the truck. And there's also this vehicle with its reverse lights on, so I look at the position of its front wheels. They're straight, so I'm good. If they were turned to the left, the driver might reverse and that would point the front of the vehicle towards me. If you need to stop behind garbage collection trucks, always leave enough room behind them. The workers need a lot of room to operate. When going around them, go slowly and be extra attentive because they move a lot around those vehicles. Whenever you're approaching intersections where there are big vehicles potentially hiding any traffic signs, first make sure that you see if there are any traffic signs, then what color the light is if there's a traffic light before crossing the intersection. Same thing here, but in this case, I can see the light on the other side. Now I've put this situation here in a few other of my videos, and I want to repeat it here because it's a situation that causes a lot of failures at the exam. I want to turn right here and I'm waiting for the light to turn green. But a lot of times, when the light turns green, it's an arrow pointing up, which means you can only go straight. Now a lot of students make the mistake of starting to turn as soon as they see the color green from the corner of their eye, and it usually results in automatic failure. But in this case, it's even worse because there's a bus passing in front of the light when it turns green, so the probability of making that mistake is even higher. So when you're waiting for the light to turn green, count the globes. If there are more than the 3 normal globes, red, yellow, and green, the first light after the red light will often be a green arrow pointing up. And students tend to make this mistake even more often if they see someone in front doing it. And this happens very often. A lot of people don't respect arrows. It also happens with other types of lights when the light changes from one color to another, or another light suddenly lights up. So make sure to look well at the light before going. On residential streets, there are usually a lot of stop signs. And something else that there's usually a lot of is trees. So when approaching intersections, always be on the lookout for stop signs hidden by the trees. Now these panels, sometimes with white arrows on a black background, sometimes the opposite, black arrows on a white background, indicate what you have to do in each lane. At the exam, they usually ask you to turn 2 or 3 intersections in advance. Example, turn right at the third light. So if you see some of these panels, use them to position yourself in advance, both to where you want to go and where you do not want to go. In this case here, I see that the left lane is reserved for turning left only at the next intersection. I don't want to turn left, so I change lanes. And often, there will be a solid line near the intersection that prevents us from changing lanes. So I want to avoid being stuck there by preparing in advance. Here I see these cones, and I also see this panel here, which indicates that the left lane will also be reserved for turning left, and I don't want to turn left. So I prepare to change lanes immediately after I've passed the cones. Here same thing, but we're not allowed to change lanes in an intersection. So I prepare to change lanes right away after the intersection, since I won't have much room to do it. Here I do want to turn right at the next intersection. I see this yellow panel indicating in advance that there will be other panels further away, indicating what I can do in each lane. So I can prepare myself from even further in this case. I change lanes as soon as I can. In the next video, school buses, city buses, other drivers, other road users, and distances. So stay tuned and see you soon.